C-Suite Support is a fractional CFO company, and we provide CFO, controller, accounting services for 50 plus companies currently, and we do work nationwide. A good CFO looks at every aspect of the company. So with all of the preliminaries out of the way, I'd like to introduce Sara Schroeder. Sara is a life coach. Her question: what if your greatest strength lies in vulnerability? Embrace the and to be both strong and soft, driven and at peace, and your true power emerges when you own every facet of yourself.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited about it. I'm Sara Schroeder. I have Sara Schroeder Coaching. I am both a personal trainer and a life coach, and that's my passion, is just to make people's lives better. I've been in personal training since 2008. I've had my life coaching business since 2019. It was especially through a journey of my own from the end of 2022 through all of 2023, where I had to basically learn how to rise, reclaim, and radiate, because I completely lost my identity, lost my sense of relationships and my purpose. I know what it's like to be in that really lost place and feel like you're just in this either or scenario. And that's not why we're here. That's not why we're meant to wake up every day. That's not why we're supposed to go out and serve and just feel really good about what we do. So it's been extremely important to me my entire life to show people that it's about training your mind and building your body and awakening your bold faith, learning how loved you are, understanding the importance of muscle for longevity, and really taking a positive mindset, not like a think positive, like it's not so easy as, well, think positive and positive things happen, but what really goes behind the scenes so that you can radiate and own your magnetic identity. That's what it's all about. So that's what I love to do. And I've been doing it for a long time. And as you can tell, I'm really passionate about it.
You are passionate about it. I love that.
The and life is a combination of God or faith, muscle, and mindset. And it's all about personal responsibility, really finding your assertiveness, like being decisive in something, making a decision and acting on that decision, because there's going to be a consequence no matter what, right? And consequence isn't a bad thing. Consequence gets to be good or bad depending on how we interpret it. So it's all about personal responsibility, having that discipline and delight, having that ambition and that peace. It's okay when you're not performing. It's okay when you're not pleasing. It's okay when you're not proving. Like you are right here, phenomenal if you're doing something or if you're not doing something. And it's just really taking charge of your health and your mindset so that you wake up excited every day. And I realize there's Sara excited, and you don't have to be Sara level excited, but it is something where you can train yourself to create that lifestyle where you are your version of excited every day. So that's what the and life is really embracing all of it and not being burnt out, not being overwhelmed, but being that high achiever and resting, being disciplined and having delight, like eating that ice cream, eating those donuts. I personally like dark chocolate caramel sea salt.
I share that very comfortably with you.
Yeah,
So,
I love that, because that's the and life. You further proved it. Like you can have it all. Basically, everyone thinks, oh no, I can't. Actually, yes, you can. Your all is different for everybody. And that's kind of what you do, how you find it in relationship with your faith, not a religion, but like faith is in a relationship, and then training your body, building muscle. I'm huge on that. And then having fun with your mindset, because life does get to be fun. And I think we forget that.
Absolutely. What ways do you choose courage over comfort? And then how do you do that? Because boy, I like to be more comfortable than I like to be couraged.
Why is it that we like to be more comfortable? What is it that you're afraid of? And most people are like, I'm afraid I'm going to fail. That's the biggest one, right? Or actually, a lot of high achievers are like, I'm afraid of success, because what happens then? Kind of like what you were talking about, these companies that went from like 1 million to 1 billion. What happens then? What happens is you get to decide. That's why choosing is probably the most important word there. It's always a choice. Everything's going to be hard. If you do something that's comfy now, you're choosing something in the future that's not going to be comfortable at all. So if you're a little bit uncomfortable, even just a smidge uncomfortable now, doing something you don't want to do, going to a new gym where you're not really sure what to do, starting a new business and you have no clue what it is, it's about making a decision. I'm going to do this and just focusing on that. And courage, that's what courage is. You're going to have the fear. So just acknowledge and accept the fear. And truly, it's one of those things that sounds so silly, but if you create like a person out of it, like, hey, fear, I see you. Thanks for playing. Here's how it shows up in my body. Here's where it's showing up in my mind. I'm going to fail. People are going to judge. There isn't any such thing as failure. It's just if you stop.
I agree with you that if you got to stand up now, the thing that I'm going to say is I probably do a lot of more comfort of I'd rather sit and have a glass of wine than go to the gym and work out. But if I do both, I would be in better shape and have those positive things going better, right?
If I was training you in like doing personal training, I would not tell you, hey, stop drinking the wine completely. Because if that's part of your lifestyle, then that's part of your lifestyle and we'll work with it. I may say, like, instead of the 3 glasses of wine that you have 2.5. Just start there. Courage isn't something huge that you have to do. Like, I have to be so courageous and stand up and do this and that. No, courage is a glass of wine instead of 2. Courage is a glass of wine and I'm going to wake up at 6 a.m. and I'm going to go work out at 7. So courage is just taking bold action. Motivation kind of comes into that too, but we all know that motivation fades. That's not anything new. Courage is doing it because you know where you want to go, regardless of how you're feeling.
You're building your own story about what your worth is.
Worth is such an interesting thing. And that was something that I struggled with a lot for probably my whole life. And just, we have those things, those experiences that make us really question, am I worthy? I went that time period, 2022 through 2023. I honestly didn't think or believe that I was, because it was surrounded around rejection and making bad decisions and mistakes. And I thought, this is just who I am and this is what I am. How can I do what I'm doing when all of this stuff just kind of happened? So that's really where the faith aspect comes in, and understanding that it is a relationship that you have to consistently work on with yourself and with whatever you believe in. For me, I believe in God. So it was really me understanding where my identity was, because I wasn't going to find it in me. I didn't believe family, friends, other people when they were saying, well, of course you're worthy. How come you don't see that? Because I didn't see that. I had to learn how to pick myself up, and worth is something that you're just born with. It never goes away. It's there. It stays with you forever. It's circumstances that make you start thinking less and less of yourself and start doubting yourself, which is why you think I'm not enough or I'm unworthy. There's something somewhere. And that sound, all it takes is, what is it? The size of a mustard seed. And daily think about that mustard seed. It's just like reps in the gym, or reps that you put in, like when you're working on your business and you want to scale it or you want to make more money, you're putting in the work, you're putting in the reps. Understanding your worth is putting in the reps by reading personal development books, reading the Bible, or, listening to podcasts, listening to sermons, but not just listening, taking something from that and applying that to your work, because you are worthy.
I agree with that. What was the road to Damascus for Sara Schroeder to go from I don't know what my worth is to understanding that I am worthy and willing to share your life, either in your efforts or your discussions or your background, to help others get their life in order?
So back in November, after Thanksgiving, November 2022, I had my heart shattered, completely broken. Everybody goes through that. That was my shattering heartbreak moment. A couple weeks after that, December 2nd, 2022, I made a really bad decision and I drove home. I crashed my car into a cement guardrail, like the front of the car didn't exist anymore, airbags, everything. I got out scot-free, like nothing happened to me, but I got a DWI. And that took a while to go through that entire process. And then in February of 2023, I had to have a major surgery. So I'm not able to have kids. So it was just like a bing, bang, boom. And then in March of 2023, my friend said, I was still recovering. And my friend said, hey, there's a series at the church that she was attending called The Hope Carrier. So sure, like why not? So I listened. The whole entire series was about reclaiming your identity, creating that relationship, and finding your purpose. And it was through those sermons, that was my mustard seed that helped start getting me back to where I could be again, to where the worth, I've realized I actually am worthy, and my mess is now my message, and how important that is. But it took a while for me to get, like, with that mustard seed, to grow and then come back into who I am physically, mentally, and emotionally. And there was a lot of, I worked with mentors and some therapists and whatnot too. But that's how I was able to not only reclaim my worth again, but radiate out how important it is that you're not your past mistakes. You're not anything that you've done. You just are right now, and you can move forward in that.
So what you're saying right now validates, or at least complements, that there was a time in your life, apparently 2 years ago, 3 years ago, that you probably would not have been able to validate yourself, but you made that road, you made that change. Where are you seeking validation, and why? And how did you take your story to give you that validation?
Prior to my story, I sought validation everywhere, on social media, with friends, with family, with relationships. I was very much a perfectionist, very much a people pleaser. I would have self-doubt. I would compare, like that trap where you just compare yourself to others and you're never going to be good enough. The way that everything happened in conjunction, how it happened, was the path for me to see that validation is never an external thing. It's always an internal thing. And it starts with understanding who you are and whose you are. That's how I could just stand strong in what and who I am today. And while I will say it is a daily practice for me to work with perfectionism, I'm an only child too, got straight A's, I was the good kid and I don't make mistakes. And so getting over some of those big mistakes was kind of like, well, I survived. I'm still here. So clearly actions aren't validation. It's who I am, who I become in the process. It's never the goal, it's never achieving the goal. It's the who you are. So now on the other side, I can see I'm validated just sitting here talking to you right now. And here's the and life. I'm validated as I am, and I can grow more and I can learn more. And that's what the beauty of it is when working together with somebody. It's like helping them see how they can validate themselves currently based on strengths, based on wins, based on achievements. Because you only know 3 things about me in that 3-month period. You don't know any of the other things that are, like good or bad, but getting that to that vulnerable level helps me now be like, here's who I am and here's what I stand for. And you're like, now I get that. Instead of needing, getting, and controlling, now it's just a matter of being, serving, and giving.
I totally agree with that one. That's one of the, but the tagline or the bottom line on my email signature is servant leader. I offer the opportunity to speak with CEOs or anyone actually about what they do. How can I help? How can I be a counselor, mentor? And it's not that I know everything. Absolutely not. But I have gone through some trials and tribulations, and everyone, period, we have baggage. I mean, things have happened in our life that we'd like to have different. And some of it scars us, some of it, makes us better, but they all are there. On this last Sunday, the subject matter was James 1. And part of that subject matter is, do you know the difference between trials and tests? Yeah. And Sara, I'm going to put you on the spot right now. What is a trial and what is a test?
I love this. So for me, a test is something that you're given just to see how you're going to respond and where you probably need more faith in your life, perhaps more God, perhaps more Jesus, whatever that means for you. But a test is something, where are you? You might be thinking things or like writing things down, but where are you really when it comes down to the nitty gritty? And then a trial, for me, is when you are in a situation, there's grief, there's loss, there's sorrow, there's shame, there's guilt. How can you acknowledge that and still have faith and courage? Because things are bound to happen. Nobody's immune to that. So who are you going to turn to when this trial does happen? And how are you going to hold on to that strong faith?
Trials are caused by external hardships, caused by the world. You grow through those through your endurance. Now, where do you take that, and what you do with that is going to mold and change your life to the positive or the negative. Whereas testing is usually allowed or initiated by God. It's internal faith and obedience, proof and refinement of your faith, and ultimately how much you build your faith and trust. Mm-hmm. And that faith and trust is certainly started in God, but then ultimately in yourself and the people that are around you.
Mhm.
How are you leading yourself before leading others?
Coaches need coaches. So I absolutely have a coach. I have people helping me work through different facets, whether it's like business, whether it's relationships, whatever it might be. Also, for me, it's very important to take care of myself if I'm also a personal trainer. So I'm in bed at 8:30 every night, lights out at 9. I wake up at 4. I have a morning routine that's prayer and journaling and mobility and eating my pre-workout stuff and just getting ready. And then I'm at the gym for 2 hours because I like to talk. Imagine that. I will say when I'm there working out, also leading by working out, being very intentional with it, not just going through the motions. I'm following a program. I'm not just in there all willy nilly. The program I'm doing right now is called Booty by Brett. So you kind of know the emphasis of it, but it is a full body program and it's progressive overload. So you're really growing those muscles, which is so important for me because if I'm going to talk about muscles equal longevity, I need to be walking the talk. 8 o'clock, like my phone, if people text me with very small exceptions, that's when I start to wind down. 7:30, 8 o'clock. But I'm also leading because I call myself out when I have the bad days, when I'm struggling with perfectionism. The and life is all about doing your best, that 1%, and having grit and grace.
You've already expressed a lot of it, but what are the boundaries you're setting to protect your peace and your ability to deal with those trials that are going to come your way while tests are sitting in the heart?
I have gotten better at going to read something, either a personal development book or the Bible, and spending time in that instead of scrolling. Anytime I'm about to go do that, I set the boundary for myself, put that down. And then I have 4 books around me right now: the 4-8 Principle, The Power of Positive Thinking, Think and Grow Rich, and U Squared. And so you can touch your phone, but first read 2 pages. That's it. Or another boundary that I set for myself is putting my phone in another room. I work really, really well in like hour facets, and then I have to take breaks and go on a walk or have a dance party or eat. Yeah, mostly eat. I eat a lot. I'm in a bulking phase, so it's eating, man. And that's a whole different story. That's how setting a boundary, like making myself eat, I guess, because that's walking the talk. Gaining muscle means you have to eat, right? But also everybody knows this, like saying no. It's sometimes I have to say no, and I feel there are parts of me that are like, I feel bad for saying no because he or she means well, this or that, the other, but it's just a no. It's just a no. And as I was about to put up an excuse, there are no excuses. No is no. Having a boundary means going to the person that you don't want to go to and saying, tell me what I need to work on, and accepting it without getting defensive, and then using that, because once you process that feedback and then start to activate it and use it, you have more peace. It's weird how that works. When you're being challenged, when you evaluate, that creates a better boundary for you to have more peace.
I agree with that. How does your physical strength mirror your inner resilience?
I mean, it goes hand in hand. It's like peanut butter and jelly. If you want to build muscle, that's a discipline. So that's an inner resilience too, because if I have discipline there, that means I can have discipline in other areas. Thinking about that, I guess, in terms of using food, right? Because the biggest struggle is, yes, I can work out. Now I can eat this huge meal. Yes, you can, and you won't get where you want to be. So the discipline doesn't just stop in one area. Or case in point, I have a client who is killing it with his workouts, and he just went to the doctor. He's 72 now. He's awesome, like in super duper great shape, but his HDL was lower and his sleep was off. It's not just about working out, it's about eating more protein in this case, and also working on that sleep. So you can't just have one. It's not an either or. That's the and life too. So if you have the physical aspect, that creates a stronger inner aspect because you want to do better. If you're doing something physically outside, that is going to have to impact your inside in some way, shape, or form. And that, again, you start really thinking about, do I want that 3rd glass of wine? And again, it's a daily practice. It's not something that once you get it, you've got it. Like when you ride a bike and boom, you're great forever. That's not what this is like. This is something that you have to work on every single day. And then it's a lifestyle. And then you'll see how that ripples into other aspects of your life as well.
How are you nurturing your relationship with God among chaos? We all have chaos, whether we see it as chaos as opposed to something that happened that we wish didn't, or something that we wanted to happen that didn't.
For me, the series that we're in right now is called Living Loved, and it is literally just accepting the fact that God loves you, which is very hard for a lot of people to accept because shame, guilt, rejection. For me, nurturing it means I listen to that sermon over and over, or I spend more time in the Bible now because now the Old Testament is starting to make a little bit more sense to me now that I've started building a relationship, not a religion, but like building a relationship with Him. What creates a phenomenal relationship? Communication, quality time, personal touch, spending time together, like the 5 love languages, right? And you can do that like with building your relationship with God. And that's the coolest thing. So for me, it's prayer in the morning. I have sticky notes all over my house that are just different scriptures that are meaningful to me. And it's weird how I won't see them at all, but on a day when I need one, I'll look up and I'm like, I needed that one. Some people struggle with prayers, and it's not a struggle, but it's just so interesting how prayer evolves, like from making it so ego-centered to then it just becomes this servant and this obedience and this surrender, going through nurturing that kind of thing as I keep growing with my relationship. It's just being more in His word and just kind of understanding, accepting, and receiving that I am loved.
When you're talking to God, talking to Jesus, talk for a while, but wait, stop, and then listen. And I'm not going to tell you that I'm going to sit there and hear voices from heaven situation. That's not the case.
Right.
But so many times when I try to then just stop and listen, and then you have to figure out whether it was your thought that you just had or his thought. But reality, a lot of good things have helped me either in a stressful situation or something that I had to deal with. They came to me, whatever it was. And again, whether it was mine or He allowed my mind to work or whatever it was, but that relationship of a conversation as opposed to a constant request.
Yesterday, I was like, okay, I'm going to stop ignoring and I'm going to assert myself in this situation because no matter what, it's not going to fail. I do something, I get a result, there's a consequence, and we just keep going from there. So that's such a cool way that God like converses with us too, right?
Absolutely
not ignore it. I'm sure some of us are guilty of ignoring it, right? But it keeps coming back and then it's like, fine, okay.
Well, what are some thoughts that you would like to leave us with?
I take women in particular who are feeling unworthy or rejected or just completely unsure of themselves. And I help you to train your mind, build your body, and awaken your bold faith through my Own It framework. And therefore, you have more confidence. You become certain of decisions no matter what, because you know that if it works, great. If it doesn't work, great. You just start from there. Everybody that I have worked with has seen not only physical transformations in their body, but they have been able to be comfortable in themselves and who they are. And that shows up in relationships and how they are in relationships. Here's who I am. And if we work out together, great. And if we don't, it's not a big deal. I wish you happiness and I want happiness for myself. And it all is just centered on knowing who you are and whose you are. And so I help people find their faith again that maybe hasn't been there or they're questioning it. And they just, from there, they're able to see that God is good. Jesus has forgiven them. They are loved and everything is possible. So they go from rejection to living love. They go from feeling unworthy to having this body, mind, and soul that's just unshakable faith and resilience, and they live with grit and grace.
So how would we present Sara Schroeder to take her forward in what she can do and how she can do it?
Sara Schroeder can help you have it all, have that magnetic identity, have those ideal relationships, and live a life that you truly love, because it's all about God, muscle, and mindset. And I'm going to show you how your vulnerability can turn into your greatest asset.
Sara, thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. And I do have a question. How would you, or what habit or daily ritual can you share with us for someone who's struggling to start their discipline journey? What is some daily habit that you continually hold on to that can keep you be present and keep showing up for yourself?
Your top 5 strengths. And I refer to it as like your Clifton Strength Binder, but it doesn't have to be that. So write down with a pen and paper your top 5 strengths and write it down, something where you have it on your nightstand. Maybe there's also a copy on your phone, whatever it might be. Every single morning when you wake up and turn off the alarm, just look at that list. So my top 5 strengths are positivity, restorative, empathy, input, and woo. I read those every morning, and then I ask myself, how can I be positive today? I go through all of them, but maybe if you're just starting out, choose one of your strengths and say, how can I apply this to my life today? It takes less than 2 minutes to read your list and then just think about it, and then you can move forward. You might forget about it the first 200 times that you do it, but the 201st time, all of a sudden you're like, I am really good at this. And this is how I can do that. Getting up. Now I'm waking up and I'm a little bit more excited to brush my teeth, to get ready to the gym, or to get ready to make my coffee, which then turns into making breakfast, which then turns into being happy on your way to work, which then turns into being on your way, getting ready to meet with clients, whatever it might be. Write down your strengths and read them. It takes less than 2 minutes every morning, and read it before you go to bed in the evening also, because you're just reminding yourself of what you're really good at. We have a great tendency to talk about what we're really awful at, but if you can discipline yourself just to read that list, your brain is starting to focus on what you're really good at. And if you do it on your phone, you can set reminders on your phone. We all have those reminders and we look at them and we're like, yeah, whatever. But those pop up when you least expect it. And that's how you can start to create that discipline.
That's
All right.
amazing, Sarah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
The more you're grateful for what you have, the more you'll have to be grateful for. So